His name echoed in my head, a constant reminder of my sin. It was a name that once brought me joy. Now it only brought me pain and regret. A betrayal so deep, so absolute, it threatened to swallow me whole. I felt as if I was drowning in an ocean of my own making, with no lifeline in sight. How did I, a woman who swore her heart to him, end up here? The vows we exchanged, the promises we made, now seemed like distant memories, tainted by my actions. Lost in the arms of another, a stranger who momentarily felt more familiar than my own husband. It was a fleeting connection, a brief escape from reality, but it left a permanent scar on my soul. Guilt, sharp and relentless, gnawed at my insides. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger staring back at me, a woman I no longer recognized. Each shared glance, each tender touch, now felt like a lie. The love that once flowed freely between us was now tainted by my deceit. The weight of my secret, a heavy cloak I couldn't shed. It clung to me, suffocating every moment of joy, every fleeting smile. The man I loved, the man who placed his trust in me, deserved to know the truth. But how could I shatter his heart, the way I had shattered my own? Yet the fear of shattering his world, our world, kept me paralyzed. The thought of seeing the pain in his eyes, the betrayal etched on his face, was more than I could bear. Would he ever forgive me? Could he find it in his heart to understand the weakness that led me astray? Could our love survive this? Or had I doomed us to a life of mistrust and sorrow? The memory of his laughter, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners, haunted me. It was a reminder of the happiness I had jeopardized, the love I had taken for granted. Had I thrown away years of happiness for a fleeting moment of escape? The questions swirled in my mind, each one more painful than the last. The questions swirled, a tempest in my soul, offering no solace, no reprieve. I was left to navigate the storm alone, hoping to find a way back to the love I had betrayed. Our love story wasn't perfect. It was filled with highs and lows, moments of pure joy and times of deep sorrow. No love story ever is. Every relationship has its own set of challenges, and ours was no different. We had our share of disagreements, moments of frustration, and the occasional bitter fight. These conflicts, though painful, were part of our journey. Life, with its mundane routines and unexpected challenges, had a way of chipping away at the initial excitement, the raw passion that once defined us. The daily grind slowly eroded the spark that brought us together. We were two souls, deeply in love, but perhaps not always walking in step. Our paths, though intertwined, sometimes diverged in ways we couldn't foresee. Communication, once effortless and free-flowing, became strained, punctuated by silences that spoke volumes. The words we left unsaid began to build walls between us. We were two ships passing in the night, yearning for each other's touch, yet unsure how to bridge the growing chasm between us. The distance between us felt insurmountable at times. The demands of work, the pressures of family, all took their toll. Our responsibilities pulled us in different directions, leaving little time for each other. We became masters of compartmentalizing, hiding our vulnerabilities, our insecurities, behind a facade of normalcy. To the outside world, we seemed fine, but inside, we were struggling. But beneath the surface, a quiet desperation grew, a longing for connection, for reassurance, for something more. We yearned to find our way back to each other, to rekindle the love that once burned so brightly. The guilt was a constant companion, a shadow that followed me everywhere. It tainted every shared meal, every stolen kiss, every moment of intimacy. The man I loved, The man who believed in the sanctity of our bond deserved my honesty. But the fear, oh, the fear was paralyzing. Would he ever understand? Could he ever forgive the transgression, the ultimate betrayal? The image of his face, contorted in pain, was a constant torment. The thought of inflicting such hurt on him, the one person I swore to protect, was unbearable. And yet, I remained silent, trapped in a web of my own making. Each day that passed, each lie I told, only deepened the wound, pushing us further apart. The weight of my secret became a chasm between us, a barrier to the love and intimacy we once shared. The truth, like a tidal wave, crashed down upon us, but not in the way I expected. It was a moment that felt surreal, almost like a scene from a movie. It wasn't my confession that shattered the fragile peace we clung to. It was his. His words cut through the air like a knife. A revelation so unexpected, so shocking, it left me reeling. He too had strayed, and the weight of his admission was palpable. His own moment of weakness mirroring mine. It was as if we were looking into a mirror, seeing our own flaws reflected back at us. Suddenly, the world tilted on its axis. Everything we thought we knew about each other was now in question. The righteous anger I'd braced myself for dissipated, replaced by a strange mix of empathy and disbelief. It was a complex cocktail of emotions, replaced by a strange mix of empathy and disbelief. We were two broken souls, both guilty of the same transgression. We were two broken souls, both guilty of the same transgression, both harboring secrets that had driven a wedge between us. Both harboring secrets that had driven a wedge between us. His confession, filled with remorse and self-reproach. His confession, filled with remorse and self-reproach, mirrored my own internal struggle. It was as if we were both drowning in the same sea of guilt. His confession, filled with remorse and self-reproach, mirrored my own internal struggle. The vulnerability in his voice shattered the illusion of the perfect relationship we'd so carefully constructed. We were flawed, we were human, shattered the illusion of the perfect relationship we'd so carefully constructed. We were flawed, we were human, and in that shared moment of vulnerability, a strange sense of understanding began to emerge. It was as if we were seeing each other for the first time, truly and completely. A strange sense of understanding began to emerge. In that moment, we realized that our imperfections were what made us real, and perhaps, just perhaps, they could be the foundation for a new beginning.